Good morning, all you friendly people in Facebook world. We are so glad to be back with another episode of Having Fun in 21. I rebooted with a funner theme for this year. And today we're going to be talking about is now the time for you to be a homeowner. And so we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. Let me know if you own a home now or if you're renting. If you're watching this, drop in the comments and let me know. And if you're watching this after not once we've recorded it, drop a hashtag replay and answer the same questions we're asking our live people to answer, because we like to know that you're listening and that you want to be a part of the conversation. I'm Judy Best with eXp Realty, and I work out of the eXp office that's at 10515 West Markham in Little Rock. But I'm broadcasting live today from my office at 5323 JFK, because that's where I am every day. You can find me here. My guest today is Karma Herzfeld. Boy, I couldn't spill that off my mouth. Karma has been been helping individuals and families realize their dreams for over 15 years. She's been with Model Mortgage for 3 years, and it's a local mortgage brokerage. Her commitment is to superior customer service and attention to detail. She wants to give you the best experience when you come to her for your mortgage. She has been doing a lot of refinancing right now. So she does refis and she does new mortgages, both. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Administration from Hendrix and a master's MBA from the University of Arkansas, Little Rock. She's married to Circuit Judge Robert Herzfeld. I think it's your last name that's tripping me up. And she has 2 sons. Luke is 19 and Hank's 18. She's about to be an empty nester because next year her youngest son will be going off to college too, and I'm sure he's going to try to go away from home because that's what our kids all want to do. She loves to run, and she spends time outdoors. She has 3 dogs, Ace, Onyx, and Hans. So that's all about you, Karma. Can you tell us what is the one thing you would tell us? I'm going to ask you a weird question. Is the thing you love best about Arkansas?
Well, thanks, Judy. I appreciate the wonderful introduction. And my most favorite thing about Arkansas is the people. I love the people that are here in Arkansas. They're friendly, they're down to earth, and it's just a wonderful place to live. And in addition, it's a beautiful state. I've been to lots of other countries and other states, and Arkansas, the beauty of the Ozarks and the outdoors is just wonderful. My only probably other favorite state is maybe Hawaii. That one I might trade Arkansas for Hawaii.
My son was a Marine, and he was stationed in Hawaii. And the only thing he didn't like about Hawaii was it didn't have seasons. So
I'm
there's
sure a downside to every place. Yeah. But I do love Arkansas. I've lived here my entire life.
Okay, that's very cool. Well, I always like to know what people love about Arkansas, because when I first came here, I didn't want to be an Arkansan. I still would say I was from the Midwest. My husband kept saying, no, you're a Southerner now. Well, now I love Arkansas, so it's a good thing. Today we're talking about how buyers can be prepared for the seller's market that we're facing right now. And that probably is going to change as the moratorium gets lifted later in the year. But right now it's a seller's market because there's fewer houses on the market than what buyers are demanding. So it's pushing the price up a little bit. So let's give them some tips. What's your first tip, Karma?
Tip number 1 is give me a call and let's talk about a pre-qualification.
Get your pre-qualification.
There is nothing worse for a lender than getting a contract without ever having pre-qualified the client, which is the buyer. it really puts us at a disadvantage in making sure that the contract gets closed on time. We need to make sure that we have income documents, as much of the documentation ahead of time, so that we know what to expect when the contract comes in. And also to prepare the buyers for things to avoid, the do's and the don'ts.
Right.
So get pre-qualified. It's really pretty simple. And if someone's on a salary, it's really easy because we can calculate their income and we can look at their credit and run the debt to income. So if it's an easy pre-qualification, it can be done within hours. If it's a little more complicated, such as variable income or someone has switched jobs, I may have to request a little more documentation, like year-end paycheck stubs, because when you have variable pay, we have to average it over the last 2 years. So that's what would take a little bit longer, is just getting the proper documents so that I can get the right calculation going.
Now, I understand from listening to you in several different opportunities, your pre-qualification is a little stronger than some mortgage lenders. Is that true?
Mine is. I do not want to set anyone up to fail. There are so many people involved in a transaction. You've got people that are selling a home to go buy another one. So there's this huge ripple effect. And if I send someone out with a pre-qualification that has not been reviewed, haven't looked at their income, then our start of the domino effect is going to keep everyone else that follows from getting their homes and getting into their new places. So I don't want that on me. So yes, I mean, it will take a little bit longer. People fill out an application and they put in numbers. This is what happens a lot of times. I see that someone will call me and say, well, I got pre-qualified with XYZ big bank. And they want to get a pre-qual letter from me. I've got someone at my door. Hold on just 1 second. It'll be
Okay.
Okay.
We'll hang for a minute. I'll talk for a second. Yeah. There's a loan at her mortgage place right now, and there's not very many people coming and going. But you can apply for your pre-qualification. She's going to leave a link where you can apply, and she can give you one of these really good pre-qualifications for buying your home.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was telling them we were going to drop a link in the comments where they could go straight and apply for a pre-qualification through you without even having to speak to you initially.
Yes, perfect. And what I was going to say, where I was going about the income, I would say 7 times out of 10, people don't really know how much they make. So that's why it's so important for me to look at those paycheck stubs. Yeah. Some people think, well, I make $50,000 a year, but when I look at their paycheck stub, they have some variable pay. They have a lot of overtime. Well, if that overtime hasn't been received for 2 years, sometimes we can't use it. So that's really what I like to take a look at and make sure I'm setting them up for success. And these bigger banks, XYZ Bank, they'll issue a pre-qual and move on and then figure it out later. And I like to go ahead and make sure we're prepared. So.
Well, and one of the advantages of working with an independent mortgage company like Model Mortgage is you have a lot of different mortgage lenders
yes.
that you can look through and find a really good match for them. So that's another benefit of coming to you for a pre-qual.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just had one I was pricing out for a veteran, and it's a purchase. And I went to one of my largest wholesale lenders, and the rate was good, but they're giving some incentives that he's not going to qualify for. So I went to one of my other lenders, which is the second largest, and the rate was much better. And so, we just got those type of options. We can shop rates. If you've got a unique situation, I have done bank statement programs. They're a little bit longer of a close just because they're a non-qualified mortgage. But we have all of the basics, and then we have a few of the other fringe type loans that are just unique. If you can't get any of the other ones, we might be able to help someone.
Well, and I always tell my buyers and my team's buyers that they need to look at several options because your interest rate and your terms may be different from one lender to the next, and you can do that process for them right there at Model Mortgage.
Absolutely. And a lot of people shop on interest rate because that's really all that they know. But in a seller's market, you really have to shop on service and communication and who is going to be able to get your loan closed for you so that you don't miss out on a home, because the seller needs to close within a certain amount of time. And we can offer some really fast turn times on our top tier scenarios. We get appraisal waivers a lot of time on conventional when you're putting 20% down. I'm working on one right now that when I got the purchase contract and I look up a home value estimate and then I'll look up taxes, I got a little concerned because the price was a little bit on the high end, and I ran it through my system and they got an appraisal waiver. So that totally eliminated the need for an appraisal, and the real estate agent breathed a sigh of relief. I breathed a sigh of relief, and everyone was very happy about that. So those are things that we can offer for sure. And we'll always give you the best customer service, the best price, and the best products that we have available.
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons I always recommend Karma. So tell me, what's your second tip for people that are buyers that are in a seller's market?
Okay, so we said let's make sure and get pre-qualified. My second tip is to stay in touch with your mortgage lender.
Stay in touch.
Stay in touch. I always tell my clients, I will call you, text you, or email. Just tell me the best way to communicate with you. Most of the time, they want to text. Most of the time.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Well, it depends on the age group, right?
Mm-hmm. So staying in touch is important.
Absolutely. One of the things that you mentioned to me that you wanted to share was the factors that affect your interest rate on your mortgage.
Yes. So, like I mentioned earlier, people shop on interest rate. They'll call and say, what's your interest rate? And then I have to begin a conversation and ask them questions about what is your credit score? What type of loan are we looking at? How much down payment do you want to put? Every loan type offers different interest rate adjustments. There's different adjustments based on credit score ranges. So until we know the specifics of a file, we can't quote someone interest rates. So again, don't just shop on the best interest rate. You may be seeing on the internet that you could get a 1.9 interest rate or something like that crazy. You can't get that without paying for it. The person on the other end of the line is not trying to build a relationship with you. They're trying to sell an interest rate. And then at the end of the day, you're going to have to pay for that because nothing is free. And so just be cautious of that. Make sure that you're working with someone local, just like me, that you can communicate with, that your real estate agent can communicate with. So as far as interest rates, all the things that are going to affect that are going to be the loan type, your credit score, the amount of down payment, and also how long you need to lock in that interest rate. If we're locking in an interest rate for 60 days, it's more expensive. If you're locking it in for 30 days, it's a little bit less expensive. And by that, I mean every interest rate has adjustments to the price of it. But I generally, and we're always quoting right now with no points. You're not paying for the interest rate. Most people don't want to pay for an interest rate when they're in the twos.
Right. Right. Interest is really low right now, and that's one of the reasons that Karma is doing a lot of refinancing. She did a lot last year. I think it gave her a really great year doing all the refinancing last year, but she's still doing it this year. Who should be calling you about refinancing? I know that's not what we're talking about right now, but I think it's important information to get out to our viewers.
If anyone has an interest rate that's in the 4s or the mid 3s, it's worth taking a look to see if it would benefit you financially to refinance. Now, refinances, just like purchases, the term of the loan and your credit score and your history all are going to be factors on what rate you're going to get with a refinance. And on a refinance, you have to go through a full underwrite again. It's a brand new loan. So even though you have a mortgage loan right now, doesn't mean you can automatically get another mortgage loan. If your job has changed, if your credit score has been impacted, if you've been in a forbearance. So give me a call and let's take a look. Advice is free. And
Advice is free.
Really all I need is a mortgage statement to run some numbers and then talk to you about income and credit scores and things like that. Mm-hmm.
And the exciting thing about refinancing, frequently when you refinance, you have options to either lower your payment that you've been making and or lower the amount of years your mortgage is. Nothing is more fun than paying off a mortgage. We've paid off one house before we left it in our lifetime. Usually we've moved before we've paid off our mortgage, but we paid off one, and I love the way they do it in Scotland is they paint the front door red and that tells people that you paid off your mortgage. So I think that's a great tradition that we need to start doing here in the States. Don't you think, Karma?
I think that's a great idea. There would be very few red doors here in the U.S. I would.
Maybe it would become a thing then, though, that we would pay off our houses some. I think we're used to trading up too much, though.
I agree. I agree.
And we're okay with a realtor and as a mortgage lender, we love that.
That's right.
Okay, do you have another tip to give us?
Let's see. Tip number 3, again, just kind of goes back to getting to the closing table faster. Tip number 3 is to get if your lender, if I request documents, get them as soon as possible. We don't want to waste any time on our end in getting the information underwritten and approved. There's so many different factors involved in a loan process, in a home buying process. You've got to get the appraisal done. Well, that is a third-party person. We don't know how long that's going to take, so let's get all of our items in while we're waiting on that. And so many people will question why an underwriter wants a particular document. Let's not question it. Let's just get it to them. If we can get it to them, it'll get cleared and we'll move on. There's no need to question the guidelines. They're federal guidelines. And then on some of the non-qualified mortgages, they're the underwriter's guidelines, and they can sometimes ask for anything they want. So I just encourage people, get me the documents as soon as you can. Let's not delay that end. And then if the underwriter asks for something, let's just get it for them. We don't have to question everything. There's no need for that. Sometimes things they ask for it doesn't make sense, but let's just get it. And we always.
Can you give some examples of those type of things? Because I've had buyers that have just bowed up and said, yeah, that's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to provide that. And I can't think of something specific that they were asked of, but can you give an example so that people know it's not just foolishness?
Yes, I can. So if this comes up quite a bit during the process, someone's buying a new home and the underwriters run a third party search to see if they own other properties. This is important because if they have other responsibilities, we need to make sure and include that in their debt to income. So when they find those, we have to prove either that they don't own those properties, or if they do, that they own them free and clear, and how much the insurance and the taxes are, because those amounts have to be added into their debt to income. The reason these are important is if you may own $1 million home free and clear, but if it's in your name and you have homeowners insurance and taxes, it could cause you not to qualify for a new home purchase. So most of the time we just have to get the documentation, get the homeowners insurance. And that's something that comes up quite a bit as more people are purchasing investment properties and things of that nature. The other thing is bank statements. People don't necessarily always want to provide you with 2 months of bank statements, but it's important for an underwriter to see where your funds to close is coming from. The reason is they want to make sure that you're not borrowing money to go buy another home. 5 times out of 10, large deposits are showing up on those most recent 2 bank statements because you're getting ready to buy a house. So you have moved money around.
Right.
So we have to source that money and show where it came from. It needs to be your money. We can often use a gift of funds, but it can't be a loan from anywhere else. And we have to prove that. And it also cannot be cash because you can't source that where that money comes from.
Right. Well, now one of the things that I get asked really often is how much down payment do I need to come up with? And people think I can't buy because I don't have a big enough down payment right now. So
Yeah.
can you give us some insight into that question? And hope, we need hope.
Hope for 2021. Yeah, so down payment for first-time home buyers can be as little as 3% down. We have a great rural development program and lots of areas in central Arkansas and in Arkansas fit into the USDA loan program. That's 0 down. Veterans, if they qualify for the VA loan, that's a 0 down. For the lower down payment options, most of the time we do an FHA loan. It's 3.5% down. And about a third of the time, those down payment funds on the FHA loans come from a family member gifting them the money. And so that is something that we see quite a bit. We just have to make sure and document the gift. And I always help people through that process. And then we have our conventional loans. The first-time home buyer conventional loan is the 3% down. The regular conventional loan is 5% down. And then if you want to avoid the mortgage insurance each month, you would put 20% down. We don't see that a whole lot, honestly.
Right.
People say, I want to put the least amount down that I have to, because the cost to borrow money is pretty low right now with these interest
low.
They can make more off of that money in a investment account. So they're putting as little down and borrowing as much as they can.
Absolutely. Okay, and I think the last thing that I run into with some of my buyers is they're always asking about closing costs, how those are going to be covered and what it's going to cost them. Can you get into that a little bit?
I sure can. So as with anything, you have to pay to get financing. So closing costs are going to be any fees associated with the loan. Most lenders, us included, have what's called an underwriting fee. That's part of the closing cost. We are almost always required to get an appraisal. So we have an appraisal fee. That's a third-party fee that gets charged to us and then gets paid through the loan. And we also have credit report fees that have to be paid and flood certification. So all these things add up. And in addition to that, we have title fees. So when you purchase a home and you get ready to close on the loan, you have to do that with the title company, because they're the legal entity that's going to file your documents, get your mortgage recorded, transfer the deed, take care of all of that back end business. And so they charge you for that. So you're going to have title fees. Those are included in the closing costs. And then you're also going to have to pay insurance and taxes. Now, those are also known as escrows. When you buy a house, you have to pay a full year's of homeowner's insurance, because the lending institution, which is going to be the person providing you with the money, wants to make sure that if something happens to the house, that it has insurance. So that's included in with those closing costs and prepaid, so a full year of that. And then we set up an account. Well, actually, title will set up an account for you for escrows, and the lending servicer will hold those for you. So each month you put money into an escrow account. Well, when we begin that escrow account, we have to put some reserves in there. So that's going to be included in your closing costs too. And,
well, and even in a seller's market, the frequently the seller will can be negotiated with them to pay some or all of your closing costs. But in the seller's market, when they do that, that can push the price up a little more. So you just have to be aware that where we used to be able to ask the asking price and ask for closing costs, now in the seller's market, they're saying, okay, if you want $3,000 or $4,000 in closing costs and prepaids expenses, that we're going to push the price up, because everybody's competing to buy that one house that there's probably 5 or 10 buyers for every house that's going on the market right now. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And if they get an offer that's a full price purchase price offer, and that buyer is not asking them to pay their closing costs, they're going to win that offer. And I do discuss that with my clients and with my realtor partners that we're working with, to make sure that my clients have money if they end up going there and end up not paying any of those closing costs for them.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and all of this is important. Thank you so much for being with us, Karma. We're going to wrap up now. Is there any one last piece of advice you'd like to leave our viewers with?
My biggest piece of advice to leave with you guys is work with someone local. I don't care if it's me, but if you talk to any realtor, they want to work with somebody that they can get on the phone and have complete contact with throughout the process. There are so many things that can happen through a purchase transaction. We need to be able to communicate the best that we can. So that is what I'll leave it with there. And thank you, Judy, for letting me just share a little bit about what I do.
Thank you for being with me, Karma. That last piece of advice she gave you, I would say that you are going to use a local realtor, somebody that knows the area and knows everything about it. And you wouldn't use somebody from Kansas or Nevada to come here and buy in Arkansas. So the same thing applies to your mortgage. You want somebody that can say to the underwriter, no matter where they are, that you know this neighborhood and you know that this is a good place for this person to buy, and that it's a good purchase. The things that a local mortgage person knows and can share with their underwriters and with their buyers is so big. You need somebody that you can get on the phone and they can help you close fast, and they can get you pre-qualified so that you're ready to buy. And when you're buying, that the mortgage will happen. There are unscrupulous people out there where that does not happen as well. So I highly recommend Karma. And I hope that if you're thinking about buying, go ahead and call her and find out where you are in that process. Because if you aren't ready to buy a house right now today, she can tell you what you need to do to get there. It's it's an easy process, and Karma would be glad to help you get there at some point this year or in 2021. Now we're planning on having more fun in 21. Whether you're buying a house or not, next week we're talking to Cora Gray, and she is a master networker. So I'm sure she's going to bring us some really great networking advice about getting back into networking, whether it's online or in person. We are going to have to find a way to have fun, whether we're doing it online or not. Thank you guys for being with us today, and we'll see you again next week on Friday at 11:30 and every week. If you would like to connect with Karma or Karma's going to drop her information in the comments, so you can come back to the comments of this video. You'll have to wait till we're off of this, Karma, to do that.
Okay.
Because you'll do it on Facebook. But Karma's going to drop her contact information and her website and stuff so that you can find her. But we're also in a BNI group together. We're referral partners, and we are looking for people to join us in our Saline County Business Leaders Group. So if you own your own business or you are a salesperson for a business, we would love to invite you to be our guest at the Saline County Business Leaders. We meet every Tuesday morning from 8 to 9:30, and we are growing our businesses together. And that's why we're here together today. So thank you guys so much. Have a great day. And we're going to say ciao for now.
Ciao for now.